We're live here today on the Not Legacy show with the legendary person in aviation who has invented a new industry. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Tell us firstly, how did you come up with this idea of leasing and coming up with this new industry from scratch?
Well, as a child, I was fascinated with aviation,
Right.
commercial aviation.
Right?
And in the 1960s, the jet age was beginning to come on board.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized is that airlines were flying low-cost propeller aircraft.
Right.
By low cost, I mean low acquisition cost.
Right.
And as airlines were transitioning to the jet age, they needed to find a mechanism to get jet planes without having to buy them.
Right. Right.
And so I came up with this idea of creating a small leasing company
Right.
that focused on foreign airlines.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the U.S., airlines had access
Yeah.
to capital,
Right.
but overseas there was a shortage of that.
Capital, right? Now, you created this small leasing company, of course, which became very big.
Well, we never thought how big it would get. That was not the original intent.
You spent your early childhood in Hungary.
Yes.
Is that where the guts come from?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. We're barbarians.
Well, we probably can do with a couple more barbarians in the aviation industry.
Well, it just gave me a perspective living in a communist country with a lot of constraints.
Right.
And so I felt that aviation was something that was much more outward, more
Right.
freedom. And so that was a real contrast.
Right. You're known to be a tough negotiator when it comes to deals. There was once, I believe, Herb Kelleher, who said you wanted free lifetime passes on Southwest,
yes.
and he never gave them to you.
They gave them to my wife, not to me.
So your wife has free lifetime passes on
But she
Southwest.
doesn't want to use it because she's not that kind of a person.
Right. But where does that?
Tough in this business.
Mhm.
I mean, a 1% error could cost millions.
Right.
So,
Right.
one has to be sharp. One has to be compassionate to your client. But in the end, we're capitalists, and we have to find ways to make a small return.
And when we talk about returns, right? Your first deal you did for Air New Zealand when you
Yes.
were still a college student.
Yes,
you
$1
made
million deal.
You made $50,000 profit there
Yes.
for yourself. Is that still the best deal you've done?
In terms of excitement, yes.
Yeah.
In terms of size, no. But
Right.
it was, a great way for a college student to realize there is a world of opportunities out there.
Right.
And I connected an airline in Alaska
Right.
with an airline in New Zealand.
Mhm.
And it was a win-win for everybody.
Right. That was fantastic. And as a college student, I'm sure it's inspiring to many other college students as well.
And now you see Silicon Valley, a lot of the most successful companies start out at that point of their lives.
Right.
Whether it's Microsoft or
Right.
Google
Right.
or any of these enterprises, they start out in the mind of a young person
Right.
who does not understand adversity
Right.
as well as an older, experienced person.
Right. Okay, no, this is fantastic. What is it? What kind of a leader would you say you are?
I'd say I'm a motivator, a very creative leader. Try to sort of anticipate what an airline or what the aviation industry might need, not today, but 5 years, 10 years from now.
Right.
So looking ahead.
There's the foresight, right?
Yeah, it's more of a crystal ball, having sort of a sixth sense of what the industry's needs are
Right.
in the future
Right.
rather than today.
Right.
That's been a tremendous help for me.
So what do you think the industry needs 5 years from now, from today?
Well, everything today is focused on cost
Right.
and volume.
Mm-hmm.
So airlines have to find ways of becoming more cost effective, whether it's on the labor side or aircraft productivity, using their assets better,
Right.
using technology
Right.
in a more innovative way, because it is a mass transportation business.
Right.
This year there'll be almost 4 billion passengers in the world of airlines.
Right.
Travel.
It's just the scale,
Yes.
right?
And the industry doubles in size every 12 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Even at a modest growth rate of 4 or 5%, when you compound that, it doubles in 12 to 15 years.
Right.
So we're looking at an industry that in 12 to 15 years might be taking 7 billion people
7 billion.
in 1
right.
year.
Right.
That will take a lot of airplanes, a lot more infrastructure, better air traffic control.
Right. The
Better
whole thing needs
airport.
to grow, right? Yeah.
And one of the biggest
Support.
constraints we have now is the ground limitations.
Right.
Runways, air traffic control, terminals, security,
Right.
and that really needs to change.
So everything needs to expand to support this growth.
That means
in
governments need to be committed
Right.
to making air travel more efficient at their level, because like in Europe, they've been talking about a single sky air traffic
Right.
control system.
Right.
It just it just takes a long time, a lot
Right.
of inertia
Right.
to get things done.
Now you're a big fan of single aisle aircraft because they're easy to turn around. There's a good
There's
aftermarket.
a lot of customers. You can move the
Exactly.
airplanes around.
What's the future of single aisle?
I think it's great, and look at all the low-cost airlines
Right.
that have brought tremendous stimulus in
Mhm.
Europe.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the European industry, for example, it's not the legacy airlines that are growing the fastest.
Right.
British Airways,
Right.
Air France, Lufthansa, they're not the fastest
Yeah.
growing
Yep. The
airlines.
growth is from the
Yes, the
LCC.
Ryanair, EasyJet, Norwegian, Wizz Air,
Yep.
Welling,
Right.
those are the fastest growing airlines.
Right. That's where the innovation is coming
Yeah,
from.
and those are
right?
double-digit growth.
Right. Right.
And they're getting people to fly on airlines that have never flown before.
Right.
They're getting young people to take trips that 10 years ago.
Yeah,
they
for the
would have
first
never
time.
contemplated.
Exactly.
And those are the repeat customers.
Right.
So
Right.
It's very exciting.
I'm sure. So the next part of this interview is called the rapid fire round,
Sure.
in which I ask you a question and you can reply in one, maybe 2 words. All right?
Maximum of 2.
Maximum 2. We'll keep it to Twitter length. Yeah, 140 characters
great.
ideally. All right. What are you reading right now?
The Bible.
The Bible. You're reading the Bible right now.
Yes.
How is it? Exciting?
It's good. It's a good history of what people can do right and wrong.
Right. Right. Who were you supporting last night? Portugal versus France.
I was neutral because we do a lot of business in both countries. I support the winner,
Yeah, that was one word. We need one word.
Portugal.
There you go. Oh, someone at Airbus is not happy right now.
We're always supporting winners.
Right, we're supporting winners. What would you advise your 20-year-old self?
Travel.
Travel the world?
Yes.
What would you advise your 90-year-old self?
Teach the young ones.
That's nice. Okay. Anything you would do differently that you have done in the past?
If I had what I have now back then, I'd be 10 times ahead of where I am today.
Well, that means in 10 years' time you'll be 10 times ahead, right? That's great. And finally, one advice to people looking to make it big in aviation.
Follow your passion.
Right.
That's
Right.
the most important.
Yeah, and that's what you've done, and that's
Put
what.
your heart into it.
Right, because when the heart is in, you reach
Yeah.
different
You have to
milestones.
enjoy what you're doing.
Right, right. This is fantastic. Thank you
you
so
very
much for
much.
joining us, Steve.